Good morning, girls. I hope you're all doing fine and staying safe at home. Well, girls, I think by now you would have received the poem and also the notes for the poem and also the grammar exercises that I have sent you. Hope you are following all the videos that I have been sending. And if you don't understand anything, you can always contact me through the WhatsApp groups. Okay, girls. Now we are back with another lesson in English, and this time it's a very interesting lesson about a little boy who lived in a village. And as you can see here, the scene of a village. People in villages are very simple people. And if you ask your grandmother or grandfather to tell you stories about their childhood, you will see how simple they were and how most of them could not afford to get many luxurious things that we are enjoying today. So, this child also was from a poor family who could not afford to give him much. And these children used to wait for the hawkers that come around, and many of them would just gather only to look at the delicacies, the goodies that the hawkers sell, because they couldn't afford to buy them. And even today, you see many vendors coming around, many bangle sellers, and other little carts that come around in some of our areas. And people thronging, especially in the rural areas, you see this happening. And this lesson is a very touching story and a very interesting one to see how that little boy turns a disappointing situation into a happy one. Not many of us can do that. Can we turn anything that is disappointed, that brings us disappointment, into happy situations? Very few of us can do that. We have to look at the bright side of things. Do we do that especially when we are sad and disappointed about something that goes wrong? It doesn't go our way. We feel very dejected that this did not happen to us the way we wanted something to happen. And here, this little boy, though he is so small, he was able to pick himself up, turn that disappointing situation into a happy one. And we can learn many things from this boy to see how he overcame all his feelings, his sad feelings, and made it into a very happy situation, not only for him but for his friends also. So let's go on to this lesson now, written by a very famous Indian author, Dhanpat Rai Srivastava. He was known as Munshi Premchand. I think you have come across some of his Hindi poems. He writes many Hindi upanyasas. He's called an upanyas samrat, an emperor of novels. So he has written many novels, and now you will go on to see his picture. So here, children, you see the author of this lesson, The Game, written by this author Dhanpat Rai Srivastava. He was known by a pen name called Munshi Premchand. He was born in 1880 and he died in 1936. And this this author is remembered for his Hindi Urdu literature, and he is called Upanyas Samrat. He has written over 250 short stories and a dozen novels. His short stories include Mansarovar, and his novels are Godan, Shatranj Ki Kilari, and Gaban. These are considered his classic novels. His works often deal with social issues like poverty, corruption, and the class system. So here also he writes about the poor village people and how they deal with the circumstances that they face. So we'll go on to the lesson now, girls. You see, children, in these pictures, you can get a glimpse of the village life I'm talking about. So to help you recall what's a village, or if some of you haven't visited a village, let's see these pictures here. So you see how they cook their food. in a pan on an oven. And here you see some children, poor children in the village, how they play and how they are dressed. Well, girls, before I go on to the lesson, I would like to know how many of us can handle difficult situations. How many of you can feel the bright side of things when something goes wrong? For example, if you get low marks in your exam, you did not do well. How would you take that? Would you cry the whole day? Would you be sad and disappointed throughout the week? Is that how you would handle your disappointment? No. There are better things to do instead of feeling sad and disappointed. You can always learn what you are not good at. You can handle the situation better. So, this shows, in this picture it shows, I can handle whatever life throws at me. For example, if you are sick, you must have a positive attitude saying, surely I will be well again. This sickness will not last for days. I am going to become better soon and will go back to my normal routine. Supposing you get less marks or a C grade, what do? No, next time I will try to do better. Instead of being sad, fighting with everyone, feeling disappointed over it, nor sulking in a corner, instead of doing these things, you could always tell yourself that surely I will prove to my teachers and my parents that I can definitely do better next time. Then supposing you get you have to change your school suddenly due to some reason, and then you cannot be sad that you're leaving your friends. You can always think that I will surely meet them. I can still keep in touch with them. Nowadays there is so much of technology. We can keep in touch through social media. And I also will feel excited to go to a new school. I'm going to be very excited to meet new friends. So that's how you should take things, girls, when something happens in your life, or when there is a change, or when there is a difficult moment. There is something going wrong in the family. Your parents may have some disputes or arguments. It is just natural. And in those situations, what do? Stay calm. Try to make peace. Try to be a peacemaker. And do not disturb. Just be calm and pray that things get better. So this is how you handle life's situations. And this little boy in the story also shows us how he was able to handle his disappointment and make it into a very happy situation. The whole incident, he turns it into a happy one, though he was very disappointed at what had happened. So now we will go on to the lesson, girls. So you see, the harder you fall, the higher you should bounce. I am not what happens to me. I am what I choose to become. So everything is in our hands, what we choose to become. Okay, girls, now let's start this lesson. So, girls, you have your lesson here, the game. And they tell you, read the story of a little boy who turns a disappointing situation into a happy one. It was almost noon. The farmers were already in their fields. The shadows of the trees had shortened. The cranes were descending on the fields of ripening sugarcane. The sun was bright and the air warm. Children were still inside their homes for fear of the hot breeze. Suddenly, the door of a hut was flung open, and a boy of barely 5 or 6 peered out. Sitting in the shadow of the neem tree in front of the hut, an old lady, despite a less than perfect eyesight, was weaving a basket. Seeing the boy, she called out, "Where are you off to, Fandan? Go inside and sleep. It's very hot outside. All the other boys are still sleeping." Miffed, Fandan replied, "Mother has already left to plough the field, and I'm scared alone in the house." The old lady was the designated grandmother of the village children, whose job was to curtail their freedom. The ground near the water tank was littered with raw mangoes, but no child could go there. They'd fall into the tank. The berry trees were laden with red and yellow berries. But no little boy was allowed to climb the tree. He'd fall. The pond looked so beautiful with uh, with its clear water and fish jumping joyfully in it. Lotuses were in full bloom, but no child could go near the pond. He'd drown. The children did not like her watching them. They tried to find ways to slip past her. So, what do we see in these two paragraphs, girls? They are describing the time it was in the village. It was noon time, and there was hot breeze blowing. And you see, they say the cranes were descending on the fields. The birds were coming on the fields of ripening sugarcane. They were flying into the fields there. And the children were still inside their houses because of the hot breeze. And who was sitting out there under the shade of a neem tree? It was an old lady. What was she doing? She was weaving a basket. And she was looking at the boy there. And the boy was trying to go outside. So she called out to him and told him that it's very hot outside. Don't go. All the other boys are still asleep. But he says that his mother had already left for the field. And now he's scared to stay in the house. So little Fandan is the name of that boy. And he replies that he cannot stay there because his mother is not at home and he's scared to be alone. And then this old lady was like a grandmother to all the children of the village. Designated means she was assigned the role of a grandmother. And there she always protects them. They cannot go into the place where the pond was because of the water tank there, and they were not supposed to go there even though there were raw mango pieces lying around. And they couldn't go to the pool because for fear of drowning. They couldn't go near the tank because they'd fall into it. And then the children couldn't even go and look at the fishes jumping joyfully there because everyone was scared they might drown. So this old lady was like a grandmother looking after the children in this village. So we'll continue this, children, in the next class. We'll stop here for today. So I'll be back with this lesson tomorrow again. Have a nice day, girls.